Hey everyone, it's Doc Fire. It's time for another Doc Fire Down and Dirty Reg Dyno. Yep, it's we're doing Reg Dynos again. But before we get into Reg Dynos, I want you guys to take a look at the new Doc Fire Down and Dirty Make Autocockers Great Again headband. So I've got a web store that's going to be opening here pretty soon, and the first items to be some headbands of different styles and types. And real quick, we have Make Autocockers Great Again. If I can get everything out here. And this is MAGA Paintball, and that's Make Autocockers Great Again Paintball. And so all you people that get upset over anything that says MAGA, don't freak out. So these headbands are made by Halo, and they're a US-made headband. They use a proprietary, it's a gutter system in the back here, and this is right along your forehead, so as sweat drains down, it channels to the back and keeps sweat from going into your eyes and into your potentially into your goggles. Used heavily by bicyclists, works really well, and the friends that I've been beta testing this with in paintball have said it's been working very well. They're nice and thin, so they fit underneath underneath your goggles fine, underneath your foam. And this material is a the Halo has a name for this material, but it's a wicking, and it actually feels cool on your forehead. But several different other designs. Go take a look at my website when it comes up. Just keep looking out for it. But without further ado, let's get into the Reg Dyno thing. And before I really get too deep into it, I want to do a disclosure on some pressure settings. My test rig, which I'll show you here in a second, has 2 transducers on it, and then that runs to my picoscope. And basically, a transducer is measures. It's a strain gauge that changes resistance, voltage resistance, either milliamps or voltage, depending on whichever you get. I have some milliamp ones, and I like those, but they have to be converted from milliamp to voltage for the oscilloscope to read it. And that conversion will set the pressure. So you say at 0 volt, that's 0 psi, and at 5 volt or whatever volts, it's 500 psi, whatever the max is, and then that makes a scale chart. And I got off by a number on that, and everything's about 50-ish psi lower than what it should be reading. Not the end of the world. Everything operates exactly the same. It's just the pressures look a little off on one of the transducers. Ironically, the one that's going to be measuring the output of the tank rig. Does not affect performance. As the oscilloscope line goes through, they're both going to be exactly the same. It's just the scale of which that it reads it at. It still reads just as fast. It doesn't change in performance of that. The millisecond, the speed, stuff like that's all exactly the same. It's just the scale bar was just adjusted a little bit. But not the end of the world. Doesn't affect the results of how they perform. And with that, let's take a quick look at the Reg Dyno setup. All right, so we're going to come over here and bring the camera. All right, so here we go. This is the same setup that I utilized. Actually, I've modified, kind of updated the stand and stuff like that, a little bit more smaller. Using the 2-liter, aka 2-liter, as the inline reg going into the marker, and it's got a transducer monitoring the output pressure of that. I'm using the CP on-off, and it has a transducer measuring the output pressure of your tank. And the reason I use the CP is it degasses, and same with the 2-liter, it will degas the system and leaves the system empty when I change over. Still using reballs, and then everything is firing through a Pro Chrono DLX, which is Bluetooth, and it's a lit version, so it's very accurate because it has a very consistent light source over the chronograph devices. On this, I'm using the LPR on the marker, and I'm not using the external LPR because I don't think it's really needed in this. And then it's got a 6-inch freak board matched to the reballs that are about 40 grains, and they're lighter than normal paintballs, just a little bit lighter. And it's shooting about 298 to 300 feet per second. With that, I'm going to come down here. Oh, everything goes up and goes over to the picoscope, and which is a computer-based oscilloscope. And then I'm using a 68 caliber, 68 cubic inch, 4,500 psi. This is the Immortal Air. This is their long service life tank. It's brand new. And then here's the regs. I've got all the regs here. The Powerhouse, this is the Haymaker, the Powerhouse 3, whatever you want to call it. CP's reg. This is a Empire reg that came on a tank. It's brand new. The Ninja Pro V, and then this is the Immortal Air, Aurora, whatever it is. I can't remember the exact name of it. Right, this transducer right here is my NIST certified transducer for measuring my pressures. And when I did the pressures, the Ninja Pro V was about 809, 810. I adjusted the Powerhouse to about 803, and the CP is about 803. The Empire is about 930. It's kind of hard to read that, 930. And then the Immortal Air was 792, non-adjustable. So those are my numbers. This will be filled up between 25 to just under 3,000 psi on each fill, and they'll be emptied out, and then the reg will be a new reg will be put on, and that's based off of a cascade system. And these are all filled up. I have a scuba compressor, so I can fill them up. So if I had any problems with not being able to meet at least 25 to 2,800 psi in that range, then I just fill those again. And the reason I picked that range, let me go back around to here. Sorry guys for the reason I picked that 25 to 2,800 range is that most fields, for the most part, their systems are about 3,000 psi. Granted, you probably go to some people go to fields that have a wonderful system, like Sherwood Forest has a phenomenal system, probably a $500,000 system that gives you 4,500 fills all day long. But for the most part, I think in a gamut throughout the U.S. that's not the case for every paintball park. I know mine says 4,000. I'm lucky if I get 32, and by the time it cools down, I'm about 28 or 3. So there's a reality to that, and so that's why I kind of picked that range. And then after you've gone on the field and you've shot some balls, and that tank's sort of dropping down, then I kind of want to be in that range. So that's kind of the thought process behind it, and that's why I picked that pressure range. You know, if I were to connect these regs to the, I have one of the, grab this right here. I have one of the CP things in the reg screws in here, and I can hook this to the scuba tank. But it's not realistic because the volume of air in that scuba tank compared to the 68 cubic inch actually changes how the reg performs. It actually allows the reg to perform even better. So when you go to a smaller tank, then the reg is a little bit more stressed, not necessarily stressed, but will have some performance drop-offs because the volume is not there to support. You know, the pressure's dropping more rapid with the amount of volume. So I could have 2,500 psi or 2,000 psi in this tank, in a big giant tank, and it will still perform really good. And comparative to, you know, dropping this down to like 1,000, then I start seeing performance loss just a little bit. But anyway, with that, we're going to get going into the Reg Dyno stuff. You may see some fast forwarding stuff, but hopefully there will be a 1 or 2 episode. We'll see after this. All right, let's get to the dynos. Here we're Stock Fire. It's time for the first round on the Reg Dyno. Hopefully I have everything working good here. So we're going to start with the CP Reg, and you can see this is just under 3,000 psi, above 2,500, between 25 and 3,000, give or take a little bit. We're going to screw it into the marker. Yes, it. And make sure the chrono's zeroed out. Yeah, you're going to see on the bottom here, you're going to see some 298. That's from the last run. and that should start changing numbers here fairly quick. We're going to go into here and we're time for the second reg. This is the Immortal Air reg on the same tank, and it's set at, get the gauge in there, between 2,500 and 3,000. Screw it onto the marker. Gas it up. Alright, I'm going to go into the program. I'm going to fire off one clearing shot, make sure everything's clearing. 293, just to let you guys know. And make sure we're still doing good here, still recording. That's good. And we're going to hit the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, back for our third reg in the reg, and this is the Ninja Pro V2, and it's, see that? It's between 25 and 3,000. Yep. And so we'll screw this in to the reg, and we'll gas it up. I'm going to do a clearing shot. Everything works. I'm going to zero out the chronograph, so it was 297, so nearly 300 feet per second. And let's go into here, and I'm going to start the run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Fire, it's time for the second to last one. This is the Powerhouse Haymaker. This is the longer body. It's been readjusted to that high 700s to low 800s range. We'll see when it does the test what it is. And the reason I went with this longer body, and it's exactly the same as the other reg. It's just a little longer stem, so it's just a longer transfer tube there. They gain a little bit of volume of tank, but not enough to make a difference. Because my other reg, the burst disc went on it. It's a faulty burst disc, it popped. But not the end of the world. We have this one, and without further ado, let's get going. Oh, we need to look at the gauge here. You can see, this gauge is really hard to read. These micro gauges are like okay. So I'm just under 3. On my gauge, on my fill thing, it's just about like 28-ish. Right. For that, we're going to gas it up. Make sure this is where I'm going to do a clearing shot. 295. Clear that out. And I'm going to go into the software here. I'm going to hit the start. Alright, so here is the last reg. This is the Empire, kind of the lower end, or their base model reg. So it's not really probably in the league of these regs, but let's just, for giggles, just to giggles, to see how it does. And obviously on the Immortal Air, see it there, tank, and the pressures. See there, it's just above 2,500. Screw it in. Chrono zeroed. Gas it up. Now this is the reg that was outputting about 900 initially on the test. So the clearing shot 296. So my inline reg has been very consistent. I cleared the chrono. Let's go in and start the software. Alright, being that this is taking about 60 minutes and I'm trying to limit the length of my videos, you're gonna see the results here. And I'm gonna go into greater detail into the results in video number 2. and kind of talk about kind of the pros and cons and some of each rig, and what my kind of thoughts are on it. And you guys can analyze this as much as you want. You can pause it and stuff like that. But without that, don't forget to hit the bell button, hit the like and subscribe, and you guys have a good one. Duckfire out.